Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Warrior Wednesday. My name is Lisa Johnston, and I am just so excited to be here because this is our very first Warrior Wednesday live for Cure Grace Yoga. So I am the community lead for Cure Grace. And oh, hi. So happy to see all y'all. I'm so excited to have this opportunity. And I am going to wave in my friend here. Let's let her in. Go live with Kate is happy. Oh, I'm going to introduce Kate. Hopefully she's able to get in okay. If she pops in. Ah, yes. So happy to see you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
I sure can. Hi, everybody. This is so great. So what our hopes are is that, well, obviously Cure Grace, we do a lot of wonderful things. Cure is all about empowering women, and she makes beautiful clothing that helps us to feel both feminine and strong. But she also has this awesome, we have the Warrior program. And we thought that it would be nice for all of y'all to get to know the warriors individually, to understand who they are, that they're not just pretty faces that do beautiful yoga poses, but that they were hand selected by Kira because they embody what she sees as an empowered woman. And so today I'm so excited to have our very first warrior, and it's Caitlyn Casson. Is that correct? Did I say your last name okay?
Yes, you did. Good job.
Awesome. So what I'd love to do, first of all, is I'm going to turn it over to Kate to tell us a little bit about herself. But what I can tell you is that she's an amazing dancer, yoga teacher, and she's really involved with some incredible philanthropy that she teaches movement and empowering people through movement, young people all over the world. And so I'm going to pass it over now to Kate and just ask you, Kate, could you tell us a little bit about, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Lisa. Well, first, I'm just happy to be here and happy to see your face. I know we've talked on the phone so many times, but it's just nice to see you in real time. And yeah, so a little bit about me is I live in New York City and I'm from the Philadelphia area originally. I am a dancer. I work mostly now with contemporary dance companies in the city, but I grew up doing lots of very classical ballet. I had this dream when I was small that I was gonna, move to Russia and be this ballerina and dance in Russia. And my life has shifted quite a bit, but that's where my dancing roots began. And well, obviously I teach yoga as well. And something else I do is I work for this company. It's a nonprofit called Mind Leaps. And so we have a dance-based curriculum that we use in programs in East and West Africa and in Eastern Europe. And this specific program and curriculum is used to get youth off of the streets and back into formal education. And
Wow.
so a lot of the work I've done with Mind Leaps most recently has been to train up new groups of trainers. So sometimes that happens for the past 2 summers, for example, I've done virtual training with trainers from all over the world, which has been really cool because normally it's people who have access to getting to New York or whoever's already based in our programs when I travel to them. So the virtual trainings actually have been really interesting to bring so many people from different parts of the world together. So yeah, so I think that's a little bit about me.
Oh, well, thank you for telling us about you. So, Kate and I had the opportunity to have a conversation last week, and we were looking through what the through line is, because you can hear that she's done so many things, and obviously physical movement is kind of the connector. It's the connecting point. And so first, being that you grew up wanting to become a dancer, and you are a dancer, not in Russia, but who's to say that won't happen, right? When is it that you found yoga? Could you tell us briefly about that story? Because we know that you teach yoga now, and actually this coming Saturday, she's going to be the teacher in our Rising Together class. So I just wanted to throw that in there. It's going to be a lot of fun. So could you tell us about how you came upon yoga?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, I'm really excited for Saturday too. That'll be fun. Yoga, how I came to yoga is kind of an interesting story, at least for me personally. I'm a very organized and type A planning person who has agenda books and vision boards, and like I do all these things and I love it. Like I don't do it because I think I have to. I genuinely love to do this.
Yes.
And
I'm on the other side. I do it because I have to.
I was actually writing a blog this morning about like doing things because we have to or because we want to, and like how that genuinely looks different for all of us. And
Yeah.
We have to find a balance, right? Like we all have things we have to do, and you have to learn to do things you don't love to do sometimes. But also you want to bring in things that really make you joyful and make you feel good and grounded. Yeah. So, okay. So for me personally, then coming to yoga was a bit of an off my plan experience. Yeah,
Scary.
as I'm sure it is for so many people, it's just like, it's one of those things. There's really like a magical path, and sometimes it just like sits right in front of you, and yoga was kind of that way for me. I was in college, and I went to college down in Florida, and I was very, very, very busy in college. I was dancing all the time in school, also like involved in a lot of student leadership things, and was pursuing a psychology minor. So I was just constantly busy. And a friend of mine was like, oh, you have to come do hot yoga. I've been going to this studio. I love it. Like, I think you would really like it. And I truly had put her off for, I think, a year because I was just too busy. And finally, at the end of one of my semesters, I normally left school at the end of the semester and would do like summer dance programs. But this one year I had to stay for a few weeks to like finish up this course thing. And so I was like, okay, perfect. I'm gonna come to yoga now. Like I have a little more time.
Right.
And I went to yoga and I really enjoyed it. It's it was the 26 posture sequence originally. And I loved it, and I loved the studio, and I got to talking to the owner, and I just really enjoyed the community there, and I enjoyed that there were people I didn't know but still felt connected to through this like movement. And so I started going to the studio, and one day I used to babysit in college too, and one day I was supposed to babysit, and I didn't have to, so I went to take this class instead at the studio. And the owner is like, oh, Caitlyn, I'm so glad you're here. We're starting up this new teacher training program, but it'll be in a vinyasa style. And like, we have this meeting today, you should stay for this meeting. And I was like, well, it's funny. Like, I don't have anything to do today. So sure, like I'll stay for this meeting, but like, I'm not going to be a yoga teacher, but I like you guys. So like, I'm going to stay because I want to know you better, And then like this meeting happens, and I somehow in the middle of this meeting, I was like, oh, this could be awesome. Like maybe I could be a yoga teacher.
Right.
And,
yeah.
They were just so encouraging. And then, of course I like have to call my mom and dad because I don't know, I just trust their opinions. And I called my parents after, and I was like, should I do this? And they were like, yeah, like do it. Why wouldn't you do it? It's gonna be great. And I was like, okay, yeah, like great, let's do it. Let's just try this, So I did, and that was truly like the first time in my life that I followed something that I hadn't preconceived ahead of time. And
interesting.
Yeah. It was a really powerful learning experience for me because I'm still really learning how to do that and to actually do it. But that was the turning point for me in starting to accept things into my life and accept opportunities that I didn't know were going to exist.
So that's really interesting because not only is it like a yoga discovery kind of thing and how you ended up like an origin story, as it were, but as somebody who is very much a planner, right, that you like, that it's the one time you say that you've ever at that point had just kind of gone with the flow and said, okay, well, what is this? And how that has changed the trajectory of your life since then. When we were talking on the phone, I was really touched because I asked Caitlin, I said, well, what does yoga mean to you? I mean, what has it given you? And I'm going to ask that question now because, and be specific because, you know, sometimes we say, well, it means a lot, but what does that mean? So, you know, Caitlin, what has this practice of yoga given to you, the planner, the dancer, the disciplined person? How has it changed your life?
Um, well, to be specific, I think that teaching me how to accept these unplanned opportunities has been definitely the biggest personal shift in how I live my life, which I
Right.
truly believe has come from yoga.
Mm-hmm.
But additionally, teaching yoga has allowed me to become more confident in my own voice. Like you literally have to use your voice to communicate. And
Yeah.
that's not something that I love to do. I feel like, you know, I love
You
to use
seem
my
so
body.
comfortable with it.
Well, I've been teaching for a long time now, and it has helped me to be
Oh,
more
Michelle
confident.
says hi.
But I'm, you know, I'm such a mover, so like I know how to interact with the world through my body. I'm like fearless in a lot of ways with my
Okay.
body. But when it comes to my voice, and communicating things that I feel are scary or more than myself, which is yoga. Like yoga is not me. Yoga is way more than me and the people in my class. And so having to like communicate these ideas like that go beyond
Ah,
just, we're not just doing triangle pose, but like here's all the other stuff that's happening in this moment. Um,
right.
Learning how to communicate that has been a really powerful learning experience that has come to me specifically from yoga.
Right. Well, and I love that. I love that because it makes me think of, you know, the trajectory of your life because, you know, you did not intend to become a yoga teacher. And then you find yourself taking movement, you know, well, first of all, and understanding how this flow and this movement changes you from the inside out, right? And then also how once you're changed, how does that change community?
Mm.
And how do we create these connections between ourselves and something larger? And that you have a psychology degree, so you know that probably adds in even more. But it leads me to thinking about, all right, so you've got this now, you've got this even deeper understanding. How has that helped you as you've gone to Africa, as you've gone to Budapest, if you've gone to these places where these kids have virtually been disconnected from themselves just as a way to cope? And, you know, you just communicated, for those of you who just jumped in, she just communicated that, you know, all of us learn differently. We all experience yoga differently. We experience the world around us differently, and we learn in different ways. And so being able to take that knowledge about what it's like to teach to one person, just because you can like teach 26 postures doesn't mean that you can communicate that, like really touch someone's heart and bring it to life. So once you learned how to do that, what happened next?
Mm.
That's a loaded question. There's so much there. You can take any bit, piece, or whatever of that, but just that you took that ability and then you went somewhere with it. In is it? Say it again. It's mind leaps.
Mind leaps, yeah.
Mind leaps. Yes.
So, okay, I guess okay, my answer is not going to be necessarily specific to mind leaps in this moment, but
Mm-hmm.
I think like what this is like leading me to think of is, yeah, exactly, that we all have very different methods of learning. And so coming into myself to understand that like here's how I learn best, or at least this is how I've always learned best up until this moment, but here are all the other different ways that I can learn. And
Mm-hmm.
if I practice learning in these different avenues, there's actually different or other pieces of information I can gather from the same experience.
Right.
I'm remembering I did this summer dance workshop years back in San Francisco, and we were taking a ballet class like we do every day. And the teacher was talking to us about methods of learning. And, you know, we were just talking about how as dancers, a lot of us learn kinesthetically. We like to do movement. And when we do it, we more easily remember it. But you could also, some people watch movement and they pick it up that way. Some people learn by listening to the words that are being said. Some people learn by communicating the words that, you know, maybe the movement is. And so during that class, it was so challenging for me, because again, you know, like I know what I'm good at, and I know the way I like to do things, and so and I like to feel good and confident in myself, so I do the things that I know I'm good at, you know.
Yeah, of course, like of course.
Exactly. So during that class, he was like, okay, I want you to acknowledge like what methods of learning you're most comfortable in and what you're most successful in as of right now. And then I want you to spend the rest of this class practicing learning via different methods. And that was really challenging for me. But I will say that like understanding that all of us learn differently has helped me to be much more compassionate and patient, because we do learn different. And also it's like, I can't just speak when I'm teaching, especially if I'm speaking to people who don't speak my language. I have to,
yes.
Yeah, like I have to use my body. I have to use gestures. I have to get you to use your body. You know, I have to implement all of these different modes of teaching and learning so that we can all pick up at least a piece of it.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
And so, just, can you give me an example? Can you tell us a short story of how one of the kids maybe that you worked with in Africa, when you were able to help them like through dance, through movement, how that helps them to find connection with self, and maybe others?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, so most of the students that I work with at Mind Leap specifically are kids who are not in formal education, mostly like living in pretty impoverished conditions. So they come to our dance classes and to this center where we have, you know, not just dance classes, but also a lot of times IT classes and English classes. And it's just so, you know, I was in Rwanda in March of this year. So that was March of 2021. And the first trip I've been to Rwanda 4 times with Mind Leaps now. And the first trip I took was in the summer of 2014. Yeah, 14. So 14 to 2021. And on this trip, a lot of my same students are there in some capacity. And it was so cool to see these kids who like aren't even kids anymore. And, you know, like in 2014, they were so, well, first of all, like so small, and they were very shy. Like I could barely get them to say hello to me. You know, their bodies were timid in our dance classes. There was no, like, we weren't pretending to have a conversation after. It was like very like timid and shy. And now in March of this year, I mean, these kids are all in school, all doing well in school.
Oh my gosh.
They're speaking English. We are like having full conversations. We're dancing together. It's like so many of them can pick me up and are like way bigger than me now. A lot of them are teaching the Mind Leaps classes. It was like such a cool shift to see that in just like, what is that? Not even a full 7 years of time, that like, there's so much empowerment that can come through this consistent practice.
Yes, absolutely. There it is, consistent practice, right? But you were able to go over there and to plant that seed. And then, look, it's so nice that you're still involved, so you can come back later and really enjoy, I guess it's like the flower garden that you planted, or whatever the fruits of what your effort was. I do want to go kind of right to this question, because I'd love to have a conversation about it. And this is the question, y'all, for those of you who are watching this on IGTV later on, the question that I want our warriors to be thinking about is, what does it mean to be a warrior for you? And then the follow-up question is, and then how do you bring that forward into your life, so we can have a conversation about that? So Caitlyn, you're a warrior, and everybody who's a warrior is a different, like some people are on the front lines and some people are dancing. And how are you a warrior, and what does that mean?
I think for me, at least where I am right now, if if you asked me this question in another year, this answer might change. But for me right now, and coming for me, it feels like coming back into life at this moment in time. And I think how I am embodying being a warrior then is by seeing the fears that exist in front of me and continuing to move forward anyway.
Right.
My dad has always said to me that you're doing something good for yourself if you're a little bit fearful. You can't
a little bit, not too fearful, right?
Exactly. He always says, like, you can't be so fearful that the fear overcomes you and you can't take a step forward, like you freeze. But you want to have a little bit of nervous energy because it means that you're doing something that's scary. It means that
and that you're excited about it. It means you care about it.
Yeah, exactly. And you've probably never done it before, which is like the whole point, right? Like, why are we doing the same things we're always have done?
Right.
So
because it's really safe, because we know we can perform, because we're set in that we want other people to only see the best of who we are. But when we do that, we don't grow, right?
Exactly.
And so, for you, and I think in general, I really like what your dad had to say, that courage, it's not about not feeling fear. It's that you can see that and be there, but still face what you need to face. And it also makes me think of, like, you talk about, like, the fear zone, because there's this moment about being uncomfortable, and it's a stretch zone. And then on the other hand, though, like, we can put ourselves so far out on the ledge that we can just freak out or just shut down. And so it's important that, you don't want to make too many huge goals right now that you're going to do everything at once, but you want to do something and put yourself out there so that you can grow even just some. So speak a little bit more to that. So this is something you've been doing. I mean, the fact that you even went through yoga teacher training wasn't something you planned. And I'm sure it wasn't exactly the most comfortable thing in the world when you did it. But tell me, just like, share a little bit more about that. Tell me a little bit more about that from a personal standpoint.
Yeah, I think I love what you just said about that fear zone, because I think especially as teachers, and like for you and I, people who guide groups and hold space for experiences to exist, it's important that we be mindful of people's zones. Like, we don't want to push people to a point that's so far beyond what they know or feel comfortable or confident in that, like you said, they freak out and then they're gone. Then they're never going to come back to this experience again. Like, it's just gone out of their life. So I think, like, learning how to find, and again, like, understanding people's methods of how to learn and how to experience life, being able to understand that as a guide, as a facilitator, really is so important, because then it allows everyone involved to experience both growth, but also safety and community, right? Like, we want to feel, it's like humans just want to feel loved. We all want to feel loved.
I know, and seen, right? We want to be seen and we want to be loved.
Yes. Yeah.
I love that. And, we have to be, like you said, just because something is easy for us, or it doesn't seem like it's a big deal to us, doesn't mean that it's not like an enormous thing for somebody else.
Yeah. So true. I have to remember that one a lot. Especially when it comes to physical stuff, it's like, I have no problem just like throwing my body in places and like trying weird things. Like, I'm not afraid to fall on my face, like, but so many people are, and it's unfair of me to not acknowledge that. Like, small steps are huge steps for a lot of people,
And as long as they're taking steps, that's what it's really about. Like, we have to meet people where they are. And, as a yoga teacher, I feel like so often we hear this all the time. When people find out that you're a yoga teacher, they say, oh, I can't do yoga, or because I'm so tight. And I'm like, oh,
I'm not flexible enough.
I'm not flexible enough. And I'm like, okay, that's not what it's about. Because all of this, I feel like, and I'm kind of going off on my thing, but I feel like that the process is what it's really all about, and, so often, we're like, okay, now here's a goal. I'm going to go to that goal. Boom, I get to the goal. And then we move on to the next thing and I get to that goal. Boom. Or like, we're so afraid and we don't even start. But it's just like, okay, no, you know what? Sometimes you're going to fail and sometimes you're going to feel awkward and sometimes you're going to have wild success. But where are we actually paying attention to the moments of this is what I'm learning? Instead of a performance goal, it's like a learning goal. And I guess I'm kind of going off on a little tangent there, but being that you are a teacher and that you reach people where they're at, I just think that's so admirable. And I can see like what a warrior you really are, because I frankly feel like it takes a lot of bravery to hop on a plane and go to Africa, to go to Rwanda. I mean, I just hear the word Rwanda and I'm like, Hotel Rwanda, or I think about the genocide. And I just want to say to everybody, what an incredible warrior that Caitlyn really is. And I want to just throw some light on you and show you some light, some love, Caitlyn, because from my perspective, yes, you can look at you and see this amazing woman and how she moves her body and dances and teaches, but you've got to see the whole trajectory of the person. And I look at you and how you go to Bosnia and these war-torn countries and reach out to kids and touch them in a way that they've never been given the opportunity before. And that just through this movement, by learning to move their bodies, it's like they learn to have a conversation, not just with you, but with themselves. And I think, if you're not able to connect and feel with yourself, I mean, you're at this huge disadvantage in life. And it always starts, right here. And then, from there, it moves out to the world and gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And I look at you and I think, man, and she's a young woman. You're a young woman and you've accomplished so much already. And I'm so excited about what you're going to be bringing to the world. And also beyond, like every person that you've taught, like that's ripple effects that go out and out into the world.
I love that. I think about ripple effects all the time, and thank you for sharing light. But I also want to say that, especially specific to the work that I do with Mind Leaps, like I'm a guide there too, and the real warriors are my colleagues and my students who are on the ground every single day. Maybe I go once a year and do my trainings.
That's true.
But my colleagues are there every single day, and our directors are working every single day, day and night without sleep. And so at least inside of that organization, they are truly the real warriors, and want to make sure that's honored.
Yes, absolutely, and honor those people. Yeah. Thank you so much. And also, though, not to diminish you, though, is that the work that you're doing in your day-to-day life. And I think that just with your smile and your positive energy and the way that you show up for people, and y'all, you should come to our class this Saturday. Yeah. That I think that you affect people, whether directly or indirectly. And I'm sure that all of your students feel the same way. So I would like to just ask you, what advice would you give to the Cure Grace yoga community? It can be about anything, but as a warrior, what advice would you offer?
I think my advice would be to show up. Every day is challenging, and I think something that I learned, especially this past year and year and a half, is that we're all dealing with different things. And no one's struggle is more important than another's. Like everyone is dealing with something in some capacity, and we really do not always know what that is. Right. So I think it's so important that every single day you just show up. You take that next step, and the pieces. I believe that like when you walk forward and when you do the actions, the pieces are going to fall into place. And actually, I know like we talked a little bit about that, Lisa, that we can't just sit back and expect things to just happen or
speak
better.
To that.
Like, it's not this like magical process. Even talking about like manifesting things, it doesn't just like happen out of nowhere. You have to believe in it. You have to put in the work and the physical actions of showing up every single day and being in your job or in your community or with your partner, whatever it is that you're showing up for. And so, yeah, that's something I'm thinking quite a lot about myself recently.
Right.
It's just
like
okay,
opportunity favors the prepared, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that we were talking about. Like, it made me laugh when I was younger. Like I had this whole idea that like I'm terrible at math or I didn't put in the time. And I was like, okay, so I'll just say like a magical prayer or something, like something can happen. I'll put the book underneath my pillow. And when I wake up in the morning, it somehow has got in there, or that, like that if I just use the secret and try to manifest that suddenly I'm good at physics, and it doesn't work that way, and that you've got to put in the work, and those steps matter. Like you said, those little tiny steps add up over time. And any time that we're trying to accomplish any goal that's actually, and if it's a real goal, it's going to be a stretch goal. But then when we're striving to accomplish these things, that everything else in our life, like you said, it kind of starts to fall into place. The way that your yoga teacher training thing happened, that it's not really about serendipity. It's about taking that step, and then other chances and other things, other opportunities present themselves.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what's one word to describe for you then? What would it be?
Sorry, one word to describe what?
One word then is not like your advice, and like, what would that be? Because I kind of think I know what it is, but
okay, well, this,
or maybe 2 or 3. It's okay.
Two words then would be show up, and I think if I have to choose just one word, like kind of inside of that is shine. You're showing up, but like as you. So
yes,
then you need to shine as you.
I love that. And when you shine and you're really authentic to who you are, it gives everybody else that's around you permission to do the same.
Yes.
And it's about true authenticity. And I think that's the word that I think of when I think of you. It's authenticity and it's bravery.
Thank you.
So I just wanted to say that. And then let's go ahead and give a shout out for your class. Let's hear about what that class is going to be. Thank you all who are watching this that have made it through our entire conversation.
Saturday's class is gonna be great. I'm excited. It's a fire flow class, which is just kind of like my signature class. We move a lot. You're definitely going to sweat a lot. I'll offer tons of options, but I generally like to keep things moving and flowing and breathing. And for me, it's going to feel successful if everyone leaves a little bit sweatier, a little bit happier, and like we've talked about so much today, like pushing that edge just a little bit to experience what that unknown or maybe slightly fearful place is.
I love that. Well, I'm going to be there. I'm excited for it. And invite your friends. It's free, except for there is going to be an option to donate. And there will be a link. If you don't follow Caitlyn Casson, then please do go ahead and I know, isn't she just amazing? So go ahead and give her a follow. And her information is obviously right here. And go to the Kira Grace website under community, sign up for her class, be there or be square. And like she said, do something that makes you a little bit uncomfortable, but it should be something that gets you closer always to things that you want to do. Don't do something just because this is uncomfortable. Do it because it's something that you want to accomplish. So this was a new thing for me. Thank you so much, Caitlyn. I was nervous, y'all. See, I was in the little bit of fear zone. So, and I'm sure I'll get a little bit better each time, but there's that feedback loop, and maybe we can have you come back on and just you do the talking. You can interview me someday. How's that?
Oh, that would be so fun. I love it.
Okay, awesome. Well, y'all have a wonderful day. I just be brave, be authentic, and like I said, just be you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Lisa.
Bye. Yeah.